again with Mrs. Snarky.
Howdy, y'all.
And we're back with more Will I Ever Be Good Enough book by Karyl McBride. We're doing chapter 4 today, covering the dads in the narcissistic web of family. Why don't you show your channel first before we get started?
I'm Karen, and I have a YouTube channel.
Psycho!
I'm Psychopathic Karen. Join my YouTube so you can get all this sociopathic, brain worm content that you deserve. No, I'm
Hell
kidding.
Yeah.
I'm Missus Snarky, and I talk politics, I talk philosophy, I talk whatever the hell I feel like it, and I have art. Buy my art.
Yes.
Yay.
All the links are in the description. Go down there.
I did this art. It's mine. Buy it.
You have to show it again because you weren't on camera.
See my art. See the art.
There it is.
Chilling for the art. Trilling and shilling for my art, y'all. Anyway, I'm art.
Yes, definitely. But yeah, so the quote: "The narcissistic family often resembles the proverbial shiny red apple with a worm inside. It looks great until you bite into it and discover the worm. The rest of the apple may be just fine, but you've lost your appetite." And that is Stephanie Donaldson Pressman and Robert Pressman in The Narcissistic Family.
Those names sound familiar. I
Good.
haven't read the I'm guessing that's a book, but I haven't read it. But it's definitely on my list now because that seems like a very good read.
Yes.
And I suspect that both my parents were narcissistic.
Yeah.
Just to put that out there, but yeah, they were definitely self-centered. Not like clinical, like I can't diagnose them as having the disorder, but I can say their behaviors are very narcissistic.
Right. Yeah.
So just
and actually, yeah, that's how this came about. My sister Zoe gave me this book initially, and she had found it because she was talking with her therapist at the time, and she said, "This really sounds like a lot of what you went through." And yeah, once we read the book, we were just like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah,
this is it.
It's kind of a mixed bag whenever you get realization or you gain realization on what the issue was, because it's like, oh yay, I have like an explanation. Oh god, I have to deal with this,
Right.
And it's double-edged sword again, but
yeah, it definitely is.
Then, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna read the first part.
Okay, that's what I was doing. But go ahead.
Oh man. The family with a narcissistic mother operates according to an unspoken set of rules. Children learn to live with those rules, but they never stop being confused and pained by them. For these rules block children's emotional access to their parents. They're basically invisible, not heard, seen, and nurtured. Tragically, conversely, this set of rules allows the parents to have no boundaries with the children and to use and abuse them as they see fit. Sounds awful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is awful.
Very
awful. And this next part, Daddy, why didn't you protect me? Where were you when I needed you? Why did you always have to stick up for Mom? What about me? Those exclamations came from Marcy when we were doing an empty chair exercise in therapy. She imagined her father in the empty chair and talked to him about the family and how it hurt her to be so alone and unloved. Her questions are among those most commonly put to fathers by daughters of narcissistic mothers. Where were you? From my research and experience, the answer is clear. Father is revolving around mother like a planet around the sun. The narcissist needs to be married to a spouse who will allow her to be the center of all action. This is how it has to be for the marriage to survive. In the family drama, the narcissist is the star and her spouse takes a supporting role. So, and it's kind of it all depends. Because, like I said, I think when you get two narcissists together, what tends to happen is a power play
Mm-hmm.
that's in constant motion.
Oh,
There's
I would
so much
imagine.
abuse and there's so much one upmanship until one just kind of like beats the other into submission,
Mm-hmm.
metaphorically and sometimes physically, at least in my mom's case.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it says the man gets himself into the situation for many reasons, but for our discussion, the most pertinent point is that he is the kind of person who accepts this behavior from his spouse and most of the time enables her. Perhaps he doesn't want to, but he does because he's learned over time that that's what works for her. And that's that's often the case, I imagine.
It wasn't
Is
ours.
yeah, that you
Mm-hmm.
you just trying to make it to where it works and you don't have to be alone and you don't have to um, cause extra problems, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. For the kids, if you care about the kids and you're a dad, then you do it for the kids and you do it for yourself and you do it because it's the right thing to do or you think it's the right thing to do. Um, but yeah, it's really rough for the dads that aren't narcissistic and do genuinely care
Yeah.
about their wives and children when they get into these marriages with narcissistic mothers. And I can't even imagine. It's kind of like when I was talking about the Divine Secrets of Yaya Sisterhood, the dad in that movie is a very prime example of what's being discussed here. He's
Mm-hmm.
very subservient,
Mm-hmm.
very, oh, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
And
And my
uh,
dad's the same way. Like, I had the different where were you question in that, they divorced and dad separated and he wasn't around, a whole lot. Well, I used to blame him for that and I used to ask these questions like why couldn't you protect me but I mean he tried getting custody when the marriage went through divorce court and that didn't work. And when I learned, like, and looked back on every time he was around, it would be basically like surrendering to her. No, like whatever she wanted, that's how it was. And Dad's a very non-confrontational person. So, like, I can't blame him because I ended up doing the same thing. Like, you run, you get away from that.
oh yeah, and that's a perfectly natural and common um, way of dealing with it because the
Mm-hmm.
average person, according to the studies that have been conducted, are non-confrontational. They will do anything to avoid getting into a fight because for various reasons, but because it doesn't feel good, right? It's uncomfortable, it's scary, and it can actually feel like your life is being a threat at some level,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because your body doesn't really differentiate between, how do I put this? Being outcast and being all alone to fend for yourself in the woods or in
Mm-hmm.
the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same kind of phenomenon. It's built into who we are and how
Yeah.
we act socially and how we respond to those actions. So, yep, I'm totally not a nerd, y'all.
Yeah. This unspoken agreement between parents who share a narcissistic nest is strong and impenetrable to anyone, but especially a daughter who is seen as competition by the mother. Obviously, Carmen had gained insight from her significant recovery work, but even so, the pain of this memory still brought her to tears. Tragically, parental denial is what keeps the family together for better or worse, and many families do choose not to confront their problems even though they hurt their children. Someday Carmen will be able to tell the story and not feel the pain that was so present that day. Though she is unlikely to be able to change her parents' relationship, she can lessen its effect on her and her life.
Yeah, and sometimes it's about all you can do. It's just, it's like the stoic dichotomy of control over again. There's nothing that you can do about the past. There's nothing you can do about how your parents behave other than, try to do your best in terms of communication and stuff like that. But if they're abusive, there's absolutely nothing you can do about that. You cannot, for your own safety. What you can control is how you cope with it from now on. Even how you coped with it in the past, if it was toxic, if it was bad for you, if it was, causing instability in your relationships, you have to move on from that. You can't change that, but you can learn from it.
Yeah, it's like the thing, the monkey in the Lion King, where he whacks him on the head. And he's like, "Ow!" He goes, "What'd you do that for?" And he goes, "I just did." And he's like, "Well, that hurt." He goes, "Ah, yes, the past does hurt, but you can either run from it or," and then takes a swing and he ducks. He goes, "Learn from it."
Yes. Yes.
I love that part.
That's an amazing part, and I had forgotten about it. It was like the monkey in the Lion King. When he holds him up on the cliff. It was the only thing I could think of. I'm like, what is that? Oh.
What? Oh, for Rafiki. That's his name.
Rafiki?
Yeah.
That's a cool name, and I didn't even know it. I'm awful. Anyway.
I didn't even notice my cat was in here. She's under the blanket, and the blanket just moved. I was like, what the hell?
Oh my gosh, the blanket's alive.
Ooh, ghosts. Totally ghosts. Anyway. Oh, yeah. Modeling a healthy love relationship is one of the most important things that parents do. Children who grow up with an unhealthy model are more likely to have some difficulty with love relationships as adults. Children learn far more from what they see parents do than from anything the parents preach to them. In part 2, we look at the love relationships of daughters of narcissistic mothers and discuss the many effects of unhealthy parental relationships. That had a huge effect on me. One of the reasons that, I got into and stayed in an abusive relationship is because I thought all of that was normal. So it, when it was happening to me from somebody else, I was just like, oh, well, this is just normal. It just happens. Deal with it.
Yeah. And children, everybody pretty much learns more from actions and behaviors than they do from what you're saying to them, right? Because people can say whatever, but how they act is really putting their money where their mouth is. And especially kids are vulnerable to this because they're actually learning and developing their own view of how love should be and how you treat other people, whether in a relationship or not, but especially in a relationship, because that's your model of a relationship. That's your model of love.
Yeah.
And mirroring and modeling tend to be how children learn the most.
Yeah, and I remember Greg was actually the first to say I love you, and it was in a text message. Aww. And I just remember sitting there and going, but what is that? Like, what does that mean? And that's what I told him. I'm like, I'm not even sure I know what love is at this point. And I felt bad saying it, but that's how I felt in that moment, coming out of, I had basically left Derek probably 5 months, 6 months before meeting Greg, and it was just like, well, if that was love, I don't want to have anything to do with it. And, it was basically I then learned what love actually means by my relationship with Greg.
Yeah, it's a learn as you go kind of thing. But as hard as difficult as that situation was, it was a realization that you needed to have. So it was it was one of those aha moments. It was really painful, but it was really necessary for you to cope and actually have the loving relationship that you have now. So step in the right direction.
Yes. And shout out to Greg.
Just be like,
yeah, just the hand
thumbs up
coming in.
Thumbs up to Greg. Is he wearing pants?
No.
I haven't checked the website in
No.
ages. It
It's
shows how
right
much I care.
99% of the time it's right. There it is.
What's the shout out for me?
Well, because I said I learned what actual love is through our relationship.
Oh, okay.
And I said, shout out to Greg. There it is.
Hell yeah, Greg, rock on.
Oh, man. Anywho.
Oh. The emotional health of daughters of narcissistic mothers is in effect sacrificed so their father can keep the peace with his wife. A daughter's first steps in recovery, involving voicing the devastating feelings of vulnerability and helplessness this generates.
Mm-hmm.
And there is something to be said about vulnerability, because I mean it's one of those uncomfortable feelings and emotions that we can be subject to, but it's also endearing. It's also there's a lot of good things about it, but unfortunately there are people out there that don't give a damn about it.
No.
They care about your vulnerability. They don't empathize. They just see what you can do for them.
Mm-hmm.
And a narcissistic mother is like that.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So the next one says, most daughters report that if they did have good relationships with their fathers, their mothers were intensely jealous of them. Oh, mention that.
Mm-hmm.
Candace tells a heart-rending story about the period when her father was dying of Parkinson's disease. Quote, Daddy was lying on the bed in the hospital, and I was lying next to him. It was truly the last hours of his life. Mom got mad that I was close to him and asked me to move, and then she took my place next to Dad. It was so sad to me because it felt like he was the only person who really loved me.
Mm-hmm.
Years later, we were chatting about family dynamics, and Mom informed me that she had to adjust the financial inheritance from Dad. She told me she gave me less than the other kids because I got so much from Dad when he was alive.
Lovely.
Oh, that is so vindictive.
Oh yeah, I have tears in my eyes just imagining that, and yeah.
God. And of course, there's a whole lot of other examples. Buy the book, y'all.
Yes.
about this, and they're absolutely just, some of them I can totally relate to.
Mm-hmm.
Because I talked about the jealousy aspect between my mother and I. With Dad and I, when I was young, we would talk about the Bible and, our feelings about morality and just all these philosophical kind of things, because me. So, I mean, my mom was
you
really...
like philosophy?
I know, right? It's like... I just like talking about it and, contemplating it and talking, my mom was kind of just checked out, so I could talk to her about anything. And when she was kind of like with it, she was just mean. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what I saw. And my dad really manipulated me in this regard. He wanted to kind of hold me over my mom's head so she wouldn't leave, because she was his meal ticket. But yeah, she was very, very much jealous of this, and of course all the compliments and stuff that I mentioned before. But yeah.
This next, the last paragraph in that section, I definitely identify with. Many girls discover that when alone with their fathers, they were able to connect on a different and deeper level and discover their father's capacity to love them. Even in small doses, this kind of nurturing made a difference. And it did. It made a huge difference. Like, there were times I got my... don't cry. The best dog I ever owned, it was my first dog, and Dad had actually rescued it because they had bred two, like a brown lab and a black lab, and she had border collie characteristics. So she was on the smaller side. She had longer hair. and he drove it over to our house and actually sat there for hours with Mom waiting for me to come home. I don't even know how that worked. I'm sure it wasn't pleasant. And he said that the dog, didn't make a single noise until I showed up. And she ended up passing away. It was an accident with the car.
Oh.
But, yeah, like little things like that. And I'm like, you know, looking back on it now, I'm like, I don't think Mom would have, you know, found an animal and been like, hey, you know, let's bring this to Casey, you know.
Yeah. I can imagine being so starved of attention and affection. That makes a big difference. Definitely. Oh, I wish I could hug you. Hug. Oh, goodness. I'm glad that you had a parent that showed you love. You know, like.
Yeah, I'm sorry you didn't.
Oh, I mean, I'm glad you did. Like, I wouldn't want, you know, what I had for anyone.
Oh, yeah. No.
It's really amazing to me that, you know, anyone can be in the situation you were in and cling to those few instances where Dad showed you affection and Dad showed you what it was like to really be cared for.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. It's good stuff. But most people they remember the negative, you know, and it really messes with them.
Mm-hmm.
Really
yeah, she would
does.
always call him a McDonald's daddy, because, you know, he would take us to do things, and she's like, well, I just can't afford it, and he's just doing it because he has no bills, and this and that, and, like, so, basically, like, demeaning every time that he went out of his way to, like, spend time with us.
Oh, God. This is so toxic. Ugh. Wow. All right. So, did you want to talk about the brothers?
I do have a couple notes, I think. Maybe just one.
Okay.
So it basically goes into that a different relationship these women have, the narcissistic mothers have, when it's a son instead of a daughter. But the thing is it says her sons are not threatening to her in relation to the father as another girl or woman is, because the boys are not as much an extension of her as is a daughter. An exception can occur when the brother gets married and brings a daughter-in-law into the equation, who can begin to feel the brunt of mother's jealousy. In Mom's eyes, she's a competitor, and the two of them may compete for her son's attention. His mother may have been in the center of his life before, but his new bride steps into that role. Mother should take a back seat, which is virtually impossible for her. My heart always aches for the wives of men with narcissistic mothers. They don't really know what they are getting into. And the, that was a UPS truck. They didn't ring the doorbell, though.
Oh, phew. Funny story. I got a visit. I was kind of running late to this hangout because I got a visit from the UPS truck.
They just like coming around this time.
Yeah, they do. Has nothing to do with the fact that this is their peak delivery time. No.
Right, no. It's just because we're recording.
Yep. That's right.
But the example I have highlighted is about Lisa, and Lisa had 5 brothers who could do no wrong in their mother's eyes. She adored them. They worked on the farm, they bought her gifts, and she worshipped everything they bought for her. They catered to my mother, and she loved that. Even today, they would blame my father for the way Mom acted. They always stuck up for her, and she for them. She really brainwashed them. Having sons on a farm was a big plus. Girls were not as important. She even went to the extremes to keep my brothers out of the service. She would say that they were needed on the farm, anything to keep them from leaving. For me, on the other hand, she couldn't wait until I grew up, got married, and moved away. And the note I have is more on dealing with the the boyfriends we had. And she was always just hypercritical of them. And, like, they basically had to, like, pass this arbitrary test, and it was different all the time. Day by day, it was different. But yet, when the boyfriend became an ex, or they became an ex-husband, she even offered for one of my sister's exes to pay for him taking my sister to court to get custody of their child. So for some reason, once they were, like, out of our lives, she was like, oh, you know, they're fine now for some reason. Maybe because they rejected us. But, yeah, there was one guy in high school, and I was still a virgin at the time, and we were dating for maybe a week or two, and he just goes, now listen, I'm not into threesomes, so we're not going to go that route. And, like, talking about all these rules on, like, sex and everything, and I'm like, whoa, like, I'm not even there yet at all. And so I broke up with him, but the thing is that he was, like, a handyman, so he helped, like, put carpet in one of the bedrooms and blah, blah, blah. And Mom's like, I just don't see why you had to let go of such an amazing man. I'm like, if you only knew. Yeah.
What? What?
Mm-hmm.
That is so bizarre. Oh my God. It feels... No, this isn't like a clinical or, professional opinion or whatever. It's just what I think it feels like. It feels like, these mothers are out for sabotage. Just to bully us. I mean, I could be very, very wrong. I don't know everybody's motives and intent, but holy shit,
Yeah. It's exactly what it looks like, and it's exactly what it was. It was just manipulation, and, like, I don't know what she expected to gain from someone not in the family having her grandchild. Like, what do you gain from that? Like, is it just to lord it over my sister that, like, oh, hey, you don't have your kid anymore? Like, I can't imagine wanting to take a child away from a situation that isn't like this at all.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Just straight up fucked up.
Yeah, and my other sister, she decided to take to court for grandparent rights to see the daughter. Basically they went through the initial, like, court thing, and then they said, okay, we're gonna get a mediator in, and you're gonna try and work with them. And basically the mediator, well, what I was told happened is Mom said, oh, I could have gotten it, and she said I could have gotten grandparent rights, but I can't afford court. What really happened is the mediator asked for clarification on things such as the abuse that we went through, and everything else like that, and she said, you don't have a chance. Like, unless you're willing to change your behavior, you're not going to get a chance. Like, she was basically told no. And that's what ended the case, not financial situation.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mama got pwned.
Yep.
Shit. I mean,
my
rightfully so.
My sister didn't hold anything back when they met with the mediator and basically said, like, what we went through, and...
Yeah.
Yep.
She should. She did the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Taking care of her kids.
Yep.
That's what a mama does.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know this person's toxic. You're not gonna get around them. That's you
Mm-hmm.
protect your babies.
Yeah.
Oh, and we're going into the sisters dynamic of all this, and yeah, that's a lot of the things that you mentioned in terms of You know, the sisters, they struggle together in this and in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, the sisters extreme. So, when two daughters are being raised by the same narcissistic mother, I found that more times than not, they take on very different roles. Both girls internalize the same message that they are valued for what they do rather than who they are, but they behave in opposite ways. One sister may internalize the message and say, okay, I will show you what I can do and how worthy I am, and become an overachiever and a perfectionist. The other sister may internalize this message of inferiority and give up, feeling that she can't make the grade anyway. She becomes the underachiever or engages in some kind of lifelong self-sabotage. It's really sad.
Yeah, that's exactly, the dynamics. I think my oldest sister was in the overachieving category, as was the sister born after her. The third sister is the one who has drug and alcohol problems, and I think she, like, she was treated to the point. It was different for us, and I don't know why, but there was one day where mom's like, "Hey, let's pretend when Berta gets home that she's not here," and
Jesus.
so she pretended that for like an hour. Like, it wasn't just a quick, oh, whatever. It wasn't a quick like joke. Like, Berta was in tears, and mom just
Oh
didn't
my god.
didn't even care.
Oh my god.
So we
Berta.
kind of went. There were both of these dynamics were played out within our family, at least.
Yeah. God, it's so sad. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
sorry. Oh my gosh. It also says that in the book will explore the phenomenon more in part two and discuss the life patterns of daughters of narcissistic mothers. The most important part of this is to remember that even though the external landscapes I described seem like polar opposites, the internal landscapes are strikingly similar. So, I mean, how one takes the message of, oh, you'll never be good enough,
Mm-hmm.
it widely varies.
Yeah,
And and usually, yeah, these are the two extremes that you get. And
and she is.
usually,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, usually, whenever you have a daughter that's overachieving and then you have it underachieving, usually it seems like, from what I've observed, it seems like the daughter that underachieves just gets all the shit
Yeah.
from all directions.
Mm-hmm.
And that just leads to them going further and further down and feeling further and further invalidated. But anyway, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. It's only now, recently, probably in the last 2 years, that she's really felt that she is worth it. And she's been clean and sober now for 2 years. And she has
Yay!
a full time job at a homeless shelter. And she does work with recovering addicts as well. So, like, it's great to see that, as opposed to just the attitude of, well, I'm not good enough, so
Yeah.
who cares,
Yeah. And honestly, like, I was an only child. I didn't have this dynamic. So it was like, it was both. It was weird. Like, I try. Wasn't good enough. Fuck it. I'll
Mm.
just go get drunk. That
Mm-hmm.
was kind of the attitude I had. What causes a daughter to take the high achieving path versus a self sabotaging path? I wondered a lot about this. According to my clinical study, the high achieving daughter usually had someone special in her life that gave her unconditional love and support, typically the father, aunt, grandmother, or teacher. The self sabotaging daughter either had no one to nurture her or had only limited access to an adult that served that role during her childhood. Yeah. I can see where that would come into play.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Well, and I think it was, I want to say it was Berta, but I'm not 100% sure. But the time that CPS was called was due to a guidance counselor at the school, and I think it was Berta that basically told the truth about everything, exactly what her home life was, And he called CPS, and CPS said, well, we don't see any abuse. So, like, at that point, you're just like, well, why even bother speaking up then? Like, why even bother talking about it? Because nobody's gonna give a damn.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Sucks. A very empty, just defeating feeling. Daughters of narcissistic mothers seem to relate in extremes in all aspects of their lives and seem overly tolerant of aberrant and unusual behavior, which of course their mothers often exhibited. I even thought at one point that the title of this book might be Women of Extremes. Well, I shouldn't name it that, but a quick overview of what we've learned so far exhibits the extremes that daughters of narcissistic mothers have learned to live with. So the first one, narcissism itself causes a person to swing from grandiose feelings to deep depression, almost like bipolar disorder. As a spectrum disorder, narcissism can range from a few traits to full-blown narcissistic personality disorder. Maternal narcissism takes the extreme of engulfing or ignoring. Daughters of narcissistic mothers seem to favor opposite ends of the continuum of life patterns, either success-oriented and high-achieving, or self-sabotaging. And daughters' relationships with men tend to be either codependent or dependent. Yep. Looking back, yep.
All of that. Just all of it.
All of it. Yeah. Very much. I mean, there have been times when, like, I was actually diagnosed with bipolar at one point because it was kind of like the model that I had, and this was like in my 20s. But as I've learned to cope with some of this stuff and look at some of the stuff that I've dealt with, those behaviors have changed. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing what we can do through therapy and coping and learning that the whole world isn't like this, which is lucky. The next part, the shiny red apple with the worm inside. Narcissistic families are disconnected emotionally. They may appear solid on the exterior, but authentic communication and connections between the members rarely take place because the parents in this family are focused on themselves. They expect the children to react to their needs instead of the other way around, as in a healthy family. In this dysfunctional system, adults do not deal with real feelings and therefore do not meet the emotional needs of the children. In a healthy family, the parents are emotionally connected, happy with each other, in control of the family, and at the top of the hierarchy. Their job is to take care of the children who look up to them for support and protection. The parents shine the parents shine love down on the children and strive to meet their needs physically, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. A diagram of the healthy family adapted from a structural family therapy model looks like this. And yeah, so there's a boundary around the parents' relationship. That's not up to the kids. Mother and father are bonded with each other, and the children are all on the same level, and the needs of the children are being met. And it even has the boundary around a single parent, and children all on the same level, and the needs of the children being met.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Not
and it's
ours.
A start. Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. I see nothing I recognize there. It's a stark contrast to the diagram on the next page, which shows the family with a narcissistic mother, and of course everything revolves around her.
Yeah. Children revolving around the mother, father revolving around the mother. There are no boundaries, no hierarchy, and unmet needs of children.
Yep. And one thing that's really important for your children to learn through modeling and mirroring is boundaries. And one thing that's really important too is seeing this enacted. When the parents have a disagreement, how they deal with that disagreement matters.
Mm-hmm.
If you're arguing and you're throwing shit and you're acting crazy, your children are going to pick up on that. And they're going to think, well, this is how people solve problems. This is how people solve
Yep.
disagreements, and that's not how it's done. So it's very
Or
important. Go ahead.
or they learn that disagreements mean leaving. Like that was
Yeah.
one thing in our house because they were divorced. So if mom really lit into dad, he could just leave. And so I just thought that if you have an argument with the person you're in a relationship with, that they're just going to leave. So
Yeah.
like fights or disagreements, even if they're not major, they're just going to walk out the door.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame him for doing, but that's what I learned happens.
Yeah. That was the reality that you had to model your own life from, and your own conclusions about how this dynamic works. And when there's no boundaries and somebody's being abusive, yeah, somebody's out the door. I mean, if they have any care for themselves whatsoever, they are. But at the same time, when you have children in that situation, it leaves them, it pulls the rug out from under them. It takes away their stability. It takes away their needs they're not being met if it's just, Now, there are good ways to part, because a relationship doesn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
There are very good ways to set up that boundary. And once again, your children will mirror that. It's not like, you want your to teach your kid that, oh, well, when you get in a relationship with somebody, you got to stay with them forever, no matter what. No, you don't want to teach them that either. But you do want to show them the way to handle that in a healthier way. And just an explosion and, oh my God, I've got to run for my life kind of situations. So, yeah, I think these are important things to learn as you're developing as a kid. And when you don't, it leads to this feeling of, well, I can't say anything to anyone.
Yep.
To disagree or to stand up for myself because I'm going to be alone.
Yeah.
And that's an empty feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the note I have on the paragraph after that diagram, it kind of goes over that. The diagram displays mother's self-absorption and father's pact to take care of her. The unspoken rule in these families is that they do not discuss this dynamic, and it becomes a family secret. In order to maintain the peace, the children have to keep quiet and not rock the boat. They fear abandonment, which causes them to mask their real feelings and pretend that everything is okay, a survival mechanism. In doing so, they do not learn to express or even be in touch with their feelings, and they are thus set up for many interpersonal difficulties later on in life. And one lasting effect from this is that I tend to react very strongly to emotional situations. And if it's a situation where I'm being hurt, I typically just stifle the feelings and just take the blame for everything. I actually got reprimanded at work once, and it was the fault of a coworker, but I took the entirety of the blame for it. Because I had tried to say, hey, this is actually what happened, and they're like, it doesn't matter. So I'm like, well, guess we just don't tell the truth about things then.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't handle emotional conflict well at all.
Yeah. That's, once again, that's a result of this dynamic of fear and dominance that mom had over the entire unit, the family unit. And when you learn that the best thing to do is to cower and be quiet and just not upset mom, then you kind of see mom as the authority figure. And then when you're at work and you're dealing with another authority figure, it's the same thing. So that's a very good example. And like, emotions are tough. They're tough for everybody, but they're tougher. It's exponentially tough when you're not given any guidance on how to deal with them. And even more tough when you're not given guidance on how to deal with them and you're abused.
Mm-hmm.
Especially emotionally.
Yeah.
When children can't rely on their parents to meet their needs, they cannot develop a sense of safety, trust, or confidence. And that, I mean, that is one of the most important things here.
Yeah.
Is, I was talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Safety and trust are at the very bare they're the foundation of the entire pyramid. Right? So if you don't have that being met, you have got a lot of issues going up. And either that, or you're just going to be constantly stuck in this pattern of just trying to find some kind of security somewhere. Right. Because you desperately need it, and that's not a good situation to be in.
Right. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, and I'll probably put the pyramid on the screen again, but I think health is at that same level too. Mm-hmm. And I think that is also a huge part of why I feel stuck most of the time, because that very basis is not stable for me. So
it's
but
a
trust
area.
Trust is a huge, like it says, trust is a colossal development issue. Like
Yes, definitely. Let's see. What do I have? So I have this highlighted because, it's kind of important to point out. Oftentimes when a mother is narcissistic, she may be able to do some of the earlier nurturing because she has control of the infant and small child and can mold the child to her wishes. And oh my gosh, this was such a big dynamic in the way I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember being a toddler and like going to the zoo and doing all the stuff and being with mom and having fun and everything else and being really close to her. But then suddenly that just stopped. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that I could assume was, I guess I'm not cute enough.
Right.
I'm not cute, so I'm not loved anymore.
Yeah, and that's an awful thing to put on a child.
Yep. Definitely. It also says, but as the child grows older and develops a mind of her own, and goes, "Hey, mom, I don't think that's right. I don't know. I'm kind of getting independent here. I'm, past the whole toddler thing." The mother loses control and no longer has the same kind of power, and that's at the heart of the matter: the power.
Yeah.
This causes the mother to begin her demeaning, critical behavior with the child in hopes of regaining that control, which is crazy making for the daughter. Even if she learned a modicum of trust as an infant, she begins to unlearn it as soon as she grows older.
Mm-hmm.
As she makes natural, reasonable demands on her mother, who is unable to meet them, and the mother becomes resentful and threatened and projects her inadequacies onto the daughter. She begins to focus on the daughter's failings rather than her own limited ability to parent effectively. And I think, like, at the heart of that, insecurity is just flashing, at every turn when it comes to how this plays out.
Yeah. And, the whole unlearning it as she grows older, that's exactly what happens. It's like you're taught, this person that you're supposed to trust the most, that society tells you loves you the most, the love between a mother and a child, that's what this is. And so this doesn't entail trust.
Yeah.
Because it's such a volatile situation.
Yeah. It's like I said before, it kind of projects this whole dynamic on so many levels, because if the mother is thinking of you as an extension of her and she's trying to overpower you because she's insecure, what she's doing is she's molding you to be just as insecure, if not more, than she is.
Right.
And that makes her feel even more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
You may remember that the characteristics of the narcissistic mother in Chapter 1 included a sense of entitlement. This means the narcissist thinks she deserves the best, the most important treatment, being the first in line, being treated with extraordinary efforts, and so on. It also means that her daughter will not be able to have a sense of entitlement because there is never room for both. Adult feelings of entitlement are unhealthy and dysfunctional, yet as small, helpless, dependent children, we are entitled to be cared for. Every child deserves to have someone in her life who is irrationally crazy about her. We gradually grow out of this entitlement and dependency and learn to take care of and rely on ourselves emotionally, which is a sign of stable mental health.
oh my god, that line. Every child deserves to have someone in her life who is irrationally crazy about her. That made me tear up.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine it?
No, I can't.
I was really lucky because I had a granny and I had a papa. And I think they saved me because we went around there ever so often. And I was the only grandchild that my granny would allow to dust her whatnots because she had all these pretty collectibles and stuff. And it was only like 3 or 4. And I just started carefully taking them off of the thing and wiping them, putting them back in the wrong order. But, and, I did that and she watched me and she just, oh, look at that Shug. You go ahead, you dust. Thank you. You're helping Granny so much. And my papa was the only man that I trusted. Like, I would dodge men who would, like my other grandpa, my dad's dad, my dad, my uncles, everything. I would go, oh, when they would try to hug me or something. But papa, I would just sit in his lap. He'd give me candy. And we talk about whatever, because oh God, I talked my head off. But then I'd go in the kitchen with my granny and, what you making, Granny? What's that? And just, I could be myself and she just loved it.
Aww.
I was lucky.
Yeah.
I
I'm
had
glad you
that.
had them.
I had that. And I consider her my mom and him my dad more than my own parents. Anyway.
Yeah, that's good. I think that was my grandma for my sister Jenny. They were very close, and grandma never stopped talking to her, even when mom did. And she was. I wish I had gotten closer to her than I was. I was 13 when she passed away, so I was still like not really in the phase of wanting to create family ties, and it felt like an impossible thing anyway with how we were raised. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Everyone's just gonna be like this. But Jenny was that for me growing up.
That's good. So by proxy, you got some of that.
Yeah.
That's good. And it's not your fault that you weren't in a position to reach out and get that relationship going. That's not your fault. So I was there because I was there at Granny's because we were running from abusive dad. Papa and Granny, he wasn't gonna do that shit around Papa. He'd whoop his ass. He would love to have whooped his ass. Anyway, begging to whoop his ass. I'm telling you, he hated my dad.
I bet.
Oh yeah. Very strong male figure in my life right there.
That's good.
Yeah.
In order to take good care of ourselves as we move through life, girls need to develop sound boundaries between themselves and others. They also need to be able to state what they need in relationships. The daughter of a narcissistic mother does not get to do this, particularly if those needs interfere with what mother wants. This then causes the daughter to repress her feelings and needs, deny herself, and learn to be fake. Without healthy boundaries, all relationships become skewed in some way.
Yeah,
Yep.
I admit, when I was younger, I was super fake.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I felt like, hey, I have to be. This is just what it is. This is the world. You gotta be fake to make it. And that's not the case. You can actually work through things and be yourself and have autonomy and stuff. You don't have to be fake. Because when you're fake, especially about emotions, it's going to build up and you're going to explode. You're not going to be able to contain that forever. You're not. No. At some point, you're going to be forced to reckon with this stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I have a note on the next section too. Setting healthy boundaries requires direct statements and clear communication. Narcissistic families commonly have a skewed, ineffective communication style called triangulation. Instead of the mother talking to the daughter, the mother may express her thoughts and feelings, usually negative and criticizing, to another family member in the hope that he or she will tell the daughter. Then the mother can deny that she said it, although the message somehow got there anyway. This triangulation and communication is passive-aggressive and is an expression of the sentiment, I will get you back, but not directly to your face. Many families, unfortunately, communicate in this dysfunctional manner, but narcissistic families are a poster example. And she constantly pitted us against each other and wanted us to tattle on each other to prove that we were loyal to her and not our sisters. And the thing is that when my two oldest sisters were venting to each other about her, at the time, I was so brainwashed to believe that her actions were normal and that we owed everything to her, and I betrayed them. I went to her and said, hey, this is the shit they're saying, and they stopped talking to me for just a few months and the other for years, and I feel so bad for doing that because they were telling it like it is. It's abuse and it's ridiculous, and she was out of her mind. And then to have their little sister run off and tattle to mom, it just, I feel so bad. So, Jenny, Zoe, I'm sorry.
Oh, and I want to say on some level, that guilt is merited on some level, right? But at the same time, it's like, past is gone. 1, 2, you're the baby. You're the baby. And that is often the role that is given to the baby of the family. And 3rd, you were manipulated, honey.
I know.
You were totally manipulated. And that is not your fault.
I don't know. I just still feel horrible for doing that.
Yeah. I understand. And see, that's part of the thing that I think is really good about you in many ways, is that you do have this compassion and this self-awareness of what, you need to work on, the mistakes that you've made. And that's a very valuable thing to have. It's a valuable attribute. But at the same time, you blame yourself way too much. You really do. You do. And you carry it around with you, and it's sad. But it's also understandable for what you've been through. And, I'm really glad that you and I are both working through this, because we each have our own, I have my own guilt issues too. And it's so difficult to deal with that stuff. And people say, well, just set it down. No, it's not that easy.
No.
It's not, you know. But moving forward, I think we have to forgive ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to, because that's part of healing.
Mm-hmm.
Owning it and forgiving yourself.
Yes.
And to hell with the manipulators, damn it. Oh my god. So, it says in recovery, you will learn to say it like it is. No pretense, no more facade, no more inauthentic representations of ourselves. In other words, to go back to what we were saying, you know, that's an overrepresentation that it was all your fault. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
You were manipulated. And that is the authentic, no facade fact, is you were manipulated. And you were living in a dynamic that was so unhealthy. It was like Stasi, right? It was like freaking secret police shit.
Mm.
Really. And that is not good. And it was kind of the same with my parents. Even though I didn't have any siblings, it was kind of like they were always just pitting me against them. And, you know, tell me what your mom. And I even got a letter from my dad when I was actually talking to him in my early or mid 20s. He sent me like a card. Happy birthday. Watch out for D. My mom's name was Diane, so
Oh.
watch out for D. What? Is still manipulating me.
Yeah.
Even that far into the future. From they hadn't talked to each other since I was 13. And I'm like 25 years old, and he's watch out for, you know.
Wow.
Like he was expecting me to like feed him information. Same thing with her. Same thing with her. Well, I know you're talking to him, but what did he say? Where's he living?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
Yep.
oh, give me the dirt. So gross. But yeah, like the shiny red apple with the worm inside, the narcissistic family hides profound pain. To understand how these relationship dynamics set up a daughter to unconsciously create unhealthy life patterns, we have to discuss further the concern that the narcissistic family has about its image. It's all about mom, and it's all about image, are its mottos.
Yep.
Definitely. And it looks like we're going to be talking about image next time.
Mm.
So that's going to be super fucking fun.
Yeah, the first line. Put a smile on that pretty little face.
Oh my god. You
Mom's
should really
favorite.
you should smile more.
You should smile more. Yeah.
I should punch you in the face more. No. I'm kidding. Don't punch people.
In Minecraft.
Yeah, in Minecraft. You know, just get that little thing. Don't use a diamond sword. Just, you know, use some sand or something. Anyway.
Yeah, it was always, we got the act like you're happy to be here. Always.
Wow. Make it till you make it. Once again. Oh, these keep. Is it just me, or does it seem like these are just getting tougher and tougher?
It is, and you know, it's getting into the next section is the hardest, the recovery process, and just not denying these feelings anymore. You know, like it says here, no pretense, no facades, no more inauthentic representations, and to actually sit down and acknowledge that and say, I was hurt. I was abused.
Yes.
This was not right. And to process that grief is tough.
Yeah, and just like any loss, you know, you experience a loss because the idea of your life as you knew it before is gone. And you have to accept a new normal, a new reality that is filled with all kinds of really tough and tricky stuff. And you go through the stages of grief, just like you would when you lose someone.
Yeah.
You're angry, you try to bargain, you do all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the process. That's part of healing. And it's not fun,
Mm-mm.
but it's necessary.
Yeah.
And don't stifle it. Don't hide just because it's hard.
Right.
Sounds a little dirty.
That's what she said.
Giggity, giggity. I had to make it weird, right?
Yeah, well, we need laughter, and Wellington had left a comment on, I believe it was the last video that we put out, and he said, I think of these movies, and there were things that I was laughing at that were abuse, and I feel bad about that. And I'm like, yeah, but we have to laugh at some of this. We have to make a joke at some of this, or it's all going to be negative. And you're just going to dwell on the negative. So, it's okay to find humor in some of this.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it's not like context matters. And if you're watching a movie that, where somebody is being hurt and you're laughing, you find it amusing because you relate to it, that's a whole other thing than going, ha ha, they got their, it's a whole other different thing. And sometimes, yeah, it's okay to go, ha ha, they got their comeuppance. It's a movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie.
Yeah,
it's fine. Okay. Don't feel bad. You're awesome, Wellington. Love you.
Yes. We love you, Wellington.
Yes.
Thank you for being here with us, y'all. Stick around for the bloopers. They'll be great.
There's lots of them.
There's lots. Yes.
I'm sleep deprived. There's lots of bloopers.
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 Oompa Loompas.
Oompa Loompa. Doopity-doo. I've got another riddle for you.
Woo!
Anywho,
yeah.
Show your channel again. Your artwork.
Hi, I'm Karen, and I'm shilling my art so I can buy my sleep meds and maybe get some better scissors to cut my own hair because, yeah, that's what Karens do. Seriously, I got a channel. I talk about philosophy, politics, and whatever I find interesting. I'm Snarkalicious. Subscribe.
Yes. Do all the things. All the links are in the description down below. But yeah, so next time. Oh, we already talked about next time. Yeah, so that's covered. We don't have to do that.
Tune in next week for more of whatever this is.
Yes, please do. All right. Well, tagline. Life can be shit, so let's get through it together. Keep hanging in there with hashtag and Missus Snarky.
Yay! Bye! Hang in there, y'all.
Yes. Bye. Love. Push record. I pushed record. Woot.
Whoop whoop.
I always have to think of the intro. I should probably write something up or something, but no, I just sit here
I did that for a while because that was I have a show. Shit. Hi, welcome to whatever this is.
This is a show.
Yeah. This is the show with no intro.
Any damn will do.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that video was hilarious.
Ugh.
I do have UPS packages coming today, so.
Oh shit. Well,
We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, what the fates decide.
Okay. Alright. Hey, we're doing chapter 5 today, and that is not what we're doing
4.
We're doing. Let me just roll that back.
Hey, I mean, sometimes you say the wrong thing. Right?
I must have Alzheimer's.
I mean, it's a clear diagnosis. Just watching you do that is a clear diagnosis. Fuck. Anyway.
Oh man.
It's fuck.
I know. I feel the same way today. Like, can I talk? Yeah, sure, I can. I promise.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm like Porky Pig or something. All right. Oh boy. So
I don't know why, but I have the I have the tune ba 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 da ba 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 ba. Like I think it's a frickin' Sousa march and it's stuck in my frickin' head. Like,
oh,
where did this come from?
That's appropriate.
I know, like you just envision the family like marching around mom.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Hey mom, salute.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Mom.
For me, it was more like, what is that circus tune? Or, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Freaking 3-ring circus.
Mm-hmm.
I had my own little ring, though. It was isolated, and I had a cat.
Yay. Yay for animals, just seriously.
Fuck yeah.
They're amazing.
Yes! Love my cats.
My Tomoko Bean, who's sleeping.
Who else thinks this stream needs more, or this premiere needs more kitty?
Yeah. More
Press
cats.
1 in the chat.
One in the chat for kitties.
Yes. And, 69 for all the other animals. So.
Giggity.
Yep.
Oh, that march is going in the blooper reel.
Yay!
I have no idea. And I had a dream last night that I was singing karaoke. And it was Pink's song, Happy. So I woke up with a good song in my head at least. But now I have a freaking Sousa march in there and I don't know what the fuck is going on. My cat got into catnip this morning. I didn't.
You got a contact nip. That's what happened.
I got nipped this morning.
Yeah, you got the nip. The spice is the life. The spice permits space travel.
I also saw a story where this house got busted for growing marijuana because it was in a... They weren't really apartments. They were like houses, but together. And there was the one house that had 0 snow on the roof. So they busted them for growing pot because of all the grow lights. The grow lights were heating the roof and there was no snow. I was like, what? Like, can you imagine?
Amazing. Busted because you're in a duplex.
Mother Nature, yeah.
And you did have sense enough to put that shit in I guess they didn't have a basement or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But even then, as much lights, if they were growing enough of it, holy shit, how much were they growing?
Yeah, apparently they also look at electricity spikes.
Yes, they do. They do.
Like, Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like meth. It's not like it's gonna blow up the block or anything, but...
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Government's gotta make their cheddar,
War on drugs.
Yeah. Just say... I don't know why. Just say it. Just see if we can say it. I don't know. Her. Oh my god, I forgot about that. That's amazing. We're gonna like hold the record for the most inside jokes ever.
Yes.
Oh, I'm happy though. I woke up happy too, and I'll tell you why. I got blocked. Shoe on head.
What?
Fuck yes. Yeah!
Oh, June. Ugh.
Yeah, it's amazing. Apparently, I'm one of Christie's minions, you know, because I can't think for myself.
No, right. We're all just robots.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Casey.
I'm Karen. Oh, the bros told me I'm Karen, so that's my name now.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the insanity.
I want to speak to your manager.
You need the haircut for it, though.
Oh, I do. I don't want to cut my hair.
And you'd have to straighten it. It's a whole lot of work. It's a lot of work to be Karen.
God, if I only were a real Karen, I could just go to the fucking salon and be like, give me a $600 hairdo.
Right. Oh my god.
Totally privileged. In my with my penny pension self-cutting hair. I cut my own fucking hair.
We're such elitists.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm establishment as fuck. Buy my artwork. I'm starving. Fucking starving, y'all. I look like I'm starving, but whatever.
Oh man. We're gonna have a laugh for the blooper reel.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if I sold like a lot more paintings, maybe I could have someone else cut my hair.
Right?
Imagine it. Like a Karen and shit. Then I'll buy me a purse and put a little chihuahua in it.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That
Walk around.
would be the icing on the cake there.
Yeah. Like diamond studded purse.
Coach.
Jesus. Okay, seriously, do they think that's who I am?
Right? But they don't know a damn thing about us. These are just some friggin' randos online that are just like, you're not voting for my candidate, which, whatever. Yeah. So I'm gonna trash talk you.
Yeah. I'm gonna say that you literally want to kill millions of people just because you disagree with it. What?
That was my first thought this morning. You know, I rolled out of bed and I'm like, how can I kill millions of people today?
Oh yeah, totally. That was, you know, it had nothing to do with building coalition and stopping fucking McConnell so we could actually get shit done. No, I just you know, kill all the people.
We have a new nickname for him.
Oh, what was it?
The Turtle Hurdle.
Turtle Hurdle! How the fuck did I forget that? Jesus. I really am sleep deprived, y'all. I got 4 hours, I think, ish. Oh. And, oh my god. Where am I? What are we talking about?
Who are you?
You must be Karen.
Yes, I'm Karen too.
Because, I mean, you're a girl that doesn't like Bernie, or not doesn't like Bernie, but you're slightly critical.
Right.
Of the discourse around Bernie, so, like, you're totally a Karen.
Yep.
Oof.
And I'm not in the minorities, because minorities only have to do with color.
Yep. There is no possible way that anyone with white skin can be a minority in any way whatsoever. Yep. Wait. Oh shit, I got a mental disability and I'm pansexual. Holy shit, what are we gonna do?
Right? I'm so sick of people being like, well, you look fine.
Oh, I know. That was fucking disgusting.
Like, can I act okay? Well, sure. And am I going to when I'm having conversations with people? Well, of course, because I'm not going to just sit there and be like, you know how much pain I'm in? I really need to talk to you about the pain. I mean, I don't care what we're talking about, okay? Or like, I don't know, maybe like get on Twitter and log every time I go to the bathroom and be like, oh, shitting now.
Really cramping it here. Holy crap, the smell. Oh, Jesus, I might not survive this. God. Well, you know, these are the same people that think they can diagnose Biden with Alzheimer's because he talks about corn pop. Like, right. What?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, Jesus, y'all. Y'all know shit.
No.
Y'all don't know shit.
Mm-mm. Like, and I love how they're all health conscious all of a sudden, even with Bernie's heart attack. They're like, well, I'm going to attack the health of somebody else. Like, what?
Look, it doesn't matter that Bernie could barely breathe the other day when talking in an interview. Doesn't matter. I mean, he's perfectly healthy. He totally didn't have a stroke. I mean, heart attack. Somebody actually said the wrong thing
Yeah, they
about
said
that.
stroke today.
The stroke. No, it was a heart attack.
No.
And, like, I don't think that he's unfit for president because he had a heart attack. And I definitely don't think that it's okay to just say things about him because of that. Like, there were people on Twitter that were like, oh, he's gonna die. He's gonna die. No.
Yeah.
Like,
that's bullshit.
Well, where were you calling out people then? Bitch, I was.
Right? We were.
I know you're not used to consistency, but hello, meet Karen, the bitch that cuts her hair and is trying to sell this artwork.
Buy the artwork. Send the description. All the links.
So maybe I can buy my fucking sleep meds with the money. Jesus. Anyway, rant's over. I think the rant's over.
Life is a rant.
Well, if you're a Karen like me, you're always wanting to speak to a manager, you know.
Can I speak to a life's manager? Can I just talk to them?
Yeah.
Anyway.
God damn. Turtle hurdle.
Yes, turtle hurdle.